Okay, this training video is to show you what to look for on chains, adjustments, what to look for chains wore out, and damaged chains, and what not to do and what to do. First thing you want to do is let your carriage rest on a wooden block or a jack stand so your chains will be loose. What you check for is pull it. If you can't, of course this is a new truck, you have no wear in there. When you pull it and wiggle it, it's good and tight. If you can wiggle it a whole bunch and you can pull it and you can feel the looseness in the one link right there, then your chain's wore out. So that needs to be replaced. Another thing to look for is don't worry about the back, because the carriage comes up, it starts at one point, the back half of it never gets used. It's always part that goes over the roller. What you do is you look on these sides here where the pins go through the chains. You make sure they're not real shiny and not wore out. If they're real shiny wore out, then your chain is twisted from the mounting bracket and it's not going straight in the roller, it's going at an angle, and so you're wearing the sides out. Another thing to check for is on the back side of your chain, on the back, where it rolls into the roller, it should look just as good as the front. You should have the same amount. If the amount is wore out, if it's flat, real shiny there again, then the chain's been overloaded and it needs to be replaced. Your mounting brackets. If you get a truck that's got the chains are wore out and you have no adjustments on it, you need to replace them. Don't pull links out to shorten the chain so you'll have an adjustment. If your adjustment is all the way down, then your rod is completely, there's no adjustment on it, the chains are wore out and needs to be replaced. Check your rollers, make sure they're good and tight. You don't want your rollers going back and forth. You want your rollers good and snug and tight. If not, you can take it off and check your pins to make sure your pins and bushings are not wore out. If they are, they need to be replaced. You got to remember that the weakest link, it's an old saying, but the weakest link is the strongest part of your chain is the weakest. The part of your chain, the strongest is the weakest link. So make sure that you check everything. When you grease these, you do it with a carriage off the ground, you do it loose, because if you do it with a tight chain, then your grease and your penetrating spray will not get into the bushings and the links on it. It'll just run right off and it won't get in there. So you do it loose, then you spray it. That way it penetrates the whole thing. Your rollers up here, you make sure that they're good, they're not wore out. Make sure they're good and straight, good and snug. If they're busted, broke, you need to replace them because you don't want to have your hoses and stuff wore out. Your carriage rollers, you check those the same way. You raise it up. You can check them, make sure they're good and smooth. If you're running your carriage up and you hear a lot of squeaking or real high-pitched sound, that usually means that your bearings are wore out. So you need to check that. Make sure that on the bottom where your pins are, make sure your carter key's not gone and somebody's just put a nail or something through it. You need to make sure it's got a carter key that holds it from the top and the bottom, not with a nail in it where the washer can just roll over and you'll damage it, or it'll come off or break, and then you'll be in trouble there again. Because no matter what kind of truck you got, all your load is on these chains. They're very, very important. On your mast, look at your channels. Make sure that your channels are even. You don't want to have one channel completely over against the other one and have a big gap over here. If you've got a channel that's twisted, you'll have big gaps in them, and that also causes trouble. It means that the carriage is going up, it's not secured inside the channel, it's wobbling side to side, and there again, it puts a lot of stress on these chains when your carriage is not rolling properly, it's not shimmed properly in the mast channels. Adjustments on your mast. You want always to be level. You adjust your chains back here in the back. That will adjust your channels up. Always keep them level. Some trucks I've seen that the two channels will be level, this channel will be down a 1/4 inch or even more than that. Always adjust your back chains so you get your mast level. Keep it level, and that way your carriage and your channels, when they go straight up together. They don't go straight up and turn side to side. When you're adjusting chains, it's very important that you hold this chain straight. Do not let this chain, when you take your nuts loose and everything and you're trying to adjust it, do not let the chain twist while you're adjusting it. If it twists, these things will break. They're made to go flat and flush up in the roller, and they're not made to twist. So when you adjusting your chain by your bolts, put a set of vice grips or a pipe wrench or something, hold this straight so when you're adjusting your linkage up and down, this part doesn't twist, it stays straight. That way you won't run the risk of breaking the chain, because they will break if you're going side to side. Your carriage rollers, once you let it all the way down, the carriage should stick out 1.5 inches on the bottom. You should see 1.5 inches of the roller on the bottom. On your fork adjustments, you let it all the way down. When it touches the ground, vertically straight up and down, when the carriage goes all the way down, bottoms out, you adjust your carriage chains so the bottom of the forks are 1/4 inch off the floor. You don't want the carriage to be all the way down, being level, and they're riding with it all the way down. Your forks are dragging the floor, you're wearing your forks out. So you let it all the way down till it hits the floor. You adjust your chains to your forks are 1/4 inch off the floor with the mass in a vertical position.